Spring is finally here in New York City. We've got some nice weather today and we had nice weather yesterday, and I see some hot weather coming up tomorrow. So I'm here to talk about two new springtime releases. The first is from Chanel. It's from their Chance range, Splendide. And the second is from Louis Vuitton, and it's called Elles. Now both of these, or neither of these I should say, are really up my street. As usual with samples, I like to try them at least once on skin before talking about them. So I've tried these both already. There's not necessarily any connection between the two, but I just wanted to group them together so I have more to talk about. So we'll start off with the Vuitton. At this point, reviewing and talking about Vuitton fragrances seems like a sort of self-flagellation, a sort of masochistic streak. I clearly don't really like them. I think actually they're all pleasant. There's not a bad smelling one in the bunch, but they're really just that to me. They're sort of designer-ish, likable profiles, but the real problem is the high price tag puts them in a league where there are just a lot of better options in my opinion. I suspect that their target market is probably people who are fans of Vuitton or just a casual shopper, because I would think if you've tried a lot of fragrances, you would kind of think, as I do, there's nothing to see here. That's not to say the entire line is a wash. I think some of the ouds are pretty good. I think Ombre Nomade is sort of an icon of the genre for a reason. It's really well done. But this one really exemplifies the sort of just generic pleasantness that I find throughout the line. So it's mostly a rose fragrance, and I sometimes get confused when I hear people say, oh, they really don't like rose, or they really don't like a certain note. I mean, how can you not like rose? Rose is so beautiful. But when I smell fragrances like this, I kind of can get the association that some people might have that turns them off rose. I say that because to me, this is sort of like a very old-fashioned, sort of like grandma's rose, sneezy, very perfumey, potpourri kind of take on rose, which is my least favorite. Other ones I've smelled in this genre, I think there's a Santa Maria Novella rose that I'm not a big fan of. I would say roses that I would prefer, where you could do better, Rose Ikebana from Hermes, lighter but much brighter, a really striking grapefruit and sort of peppery aspect. I think Diptyque Eau Rose is very much in the same ballpark, but I prefer it because it doesn't have that sort of sneezy, perfumey aspect to it, but equally kind of green and bright, fresh rose. So it does have a greenness, it has sort of a dewiness, which is pleasant. But underneath that, I'm generally not a very allergic person. I've never gotten a headache from a perfume, but it literally is kind of a sneezy rose, like you're smelling the pollen from the flowers and it's kind of making your eyes itch and water. I'm getting that from this fragrance. So it's something I've smelled 1,000 times before. It's a little old-fashioned, which is kind of strange for me. And I just think for the price point, so many better things you could get. I highly recommend at least try the Diptyque Eau Rose before you consider spending any money on this. Now the name is quite hilarious to me. So Lovers was the first one where they try to incorporate the logo into the name, but I think this has just got to be one of the most awkward attempts at branding and naming. I can't believe this passed the market testing or designs, because if you look at it, it looks like Eyes, which is a really weird name for a fragrance. If you see it written down, it's Elves with the L and V in the middle, but apparently you're supposed to call it Elle, as in the French word for her or she. And if you read the blurb, so this is a quote from Belletrude, "It is these exceptional women who have guided me through their determination, their radiant character that moves the world forward. Louis Vuitton has always been a great multicultural house that celebrates the eternal feminine across all cultures, all differences with a very French playfulness." So they're marketing this as sort of a women's empowerment fragrance. Of course, I'm all for that. Who isn't? It's such a non-controversial thing to say. But giving just sort of a boring generic rose, I don't see the connection. I don't really see how the existence of this perfume is supporting women in any way. Maybe if they were donating profits to women empowerment organizations, there might be some sense there. But it reminds me of Maria Grazia Chiuri, who designs Dior women's line, and she's often criticized for a lot of sort of just like surface playing of identity politics, throwing logos and slogans on t-shirts, that really don't have any meaning behind them, behind just some surface talk to attempt to add some depth of meaning to the composition. So the marketing annoys me, the name annoys me, the smell is pretty bland, and that's kind of all I have to say about it. I guess we'll read the notes off here. Ginger, cinnamon, violet, rose, lily of the valley, Bulgarian rose, amber, patchouli. Another website listed ambroxan as well. I wore this on skin. It lasted decently long. I did notice the patchouli, it got a little sort of warmer and less fresh as it dried down. But yeah, there's one perfume in particular that smells just like this that I can't think of right now. It might have been the Santa Maria Novella Rose. They have sort of a dewy, fresh take on rose, but nothing to see here, folks. On to Chanel Chance. Now, even though I love Chanel, I wasn't all that excited about this release. I'm not really a fan of the Chance line. I think they're nice. Like a lot of the Chanel sort of lower end mass releases, the ones that can be found in Sephora, I think there may be some of the better options at that price point, but they're still not all that interesting to me. So I didn't expect to like this, and more or less my expectations are met. I don't think you have to say, Chanel is going downhill with this release. I think it makes sense within the Chance line. I don't think it's, if this was released as a Les Exclusives, we might be scratching our head and be a little bit worried. But for the line, it kind of tracks. So let's see what Chanel has to say about it. A luminous expression that dazzles with splendor. Gosh, I can't read all this. Luck is my soul. All her life, Gabrielle Chanel cultivated chance. Okay, that's just kind of generic chance stuff. Bright, sparkling raspberry accord with facets of crisp fruit, rose, violet soars before revealing a rich floral heart of rose geranium. So there is a little connection. This to me is just very, very shampoo-y, very herbal essence. It's fresh. It's not overly fruity. I think fruit is not my favorite thing, but it can be made interesting if it's sort of like hyper realistic, or you just push that juiciness or that tartness until it becomes interesting. This is too soft and shampoo-y. It's pleasant. I like this better than the Vuitton, and it's a third of the price. Actually, these Chances are getting expensive. $176. So $100, $200 less. Wait, how much is the Vuitton? 100. Vuitton's $345. Gee, 176 for a Chance. No, thank you. So yeah, not a lot else to say. It's got that kind of Chanel musk, not the Les Exclusives musk, but you smell this in some of the Les Eaux. For me, I would take any of the Les Eaux before I would spend money on the Chance line. They're also fresh, sort of light, happy summer fragrances, but they're just really, really well done. I love me some Deauville and Biarritz. So to me, the Les Eaux line just kind of blows the Chance line out of the water, but maybe those are a little more mature, a little more sophisticated. Maybe this is more for, the younger teenage customer. So again, really now already, I'm just getting some kind of generic shampoo florals and like sort of Chance Chanel musks in the base. Very, very shampoo-y, body washy kind of smell. So neither of these are very good, but I didn't have high expectations either. I don't think the sky is falling. I'm sure we'll have some good and interesting releases to come, but I just happened to get samples of these because sales associates tend to give them out easily when things are first released. So I thought I'd hop on and give some first quick impressions.